right, everyone. Welcome to the show. Glad to see you. Tennessee WildCast, sitting on a place that looks a little different than normal because of that guy over there.
Yeah, Kentucky Lake.
Kentucky Lake. Jason has set up this studio out here at Kentucky Lake, and he was wandering around looking for somebody to be on the show, and he found this guy standing around. This is Bill Dance, everybody. If you don't know who Bill Dance is, you must be about 5 or 6. So
I've been running a trot line, limb lines down the bank.
Ran into y'all.
Yeah.
Catching any catfish on them lines?
I hadn't had a bite.
That sounds familiar.
I thought y'all were having a shore lunch, so I hadn't eaten all morning, so I just figured I'd run up here and see if I could find something to eat.
We were feeling bad for you. We'll take care of you.
Thank you. Bananas, crackers, cheese, or something. Yeah.
Got it up in the truck.
We're glad you're here. We appreciate you stopping by.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk to y'all.
Just coincidental. Anyway, this is Tennessee WildCast. Jason Harmon over here running the board and working with me on the show, of course. And this is the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency's podcast. Hope you're figuring that out. And we've been talking to a lot of the folks at TWA, and that's what we're going to keep doing with our biologists and wildlife officers. But we love finding sportsmen, especially when it's one of the best sportsmen in the country. And Bill Dance is certainly one of those. And Bill, we're here on this May Day because you're going to a memorial charity tournament tonight. The banquet is tonight. The tournament is the following day, and of course you're coming to be a part of that like you've done many times for many people.
Right, for Bill Terry. Bill was with Orca. You know, they're located in Nashville, and Bill was a great guy, and Bill passed away, several months ago, and great individual, and we've got a memorial here on Kentucky Lake for him. The tournament starts tomorrow, and we're going to kind of kick it off tonight.
All right, it's awful nice of you, and you've done that through the years with folks that you've known that have come and gone and always taken care of when you're called upon because you have a busy schedule. You were telling me before we started this show that you've been running around a lot with Bass Pro lately, Johnny Moore's.
Oh, yeah, Johnny's, we've been jumping here in the last 2.5 weeks.
And spent some time with President Bush, former President Bush the other day.
Yeah, we were down in Houston at the library and with a lot of Hispanic urban kids, trying to get them involved in fishing at the library. And we were there, and then we were up at the Legends Tournament, the big Pro-Am event that Johnny puts on at the top of the rock. We were there for about 4 days, and then Johnny had a big conservation thing along with Richard Childers up at his place up at Calhoun, Missouri. We were there for about 4 days, and then next week we've got some commercial shoots over in Charlotte. So,
Golly.
I don't know, the last 3 weeks.
You haven't been spending a lot of time in Tennessee, have you?
I got to get back to working for Bill Dance Outdoors, I tell you. But, Johnny, Bass Pro Shop has been a major sponsor of Bill Dance Outdoors and Bill Dance Saltwater for a long time. And so it's all, we work hand in hand, and so it's all part of it.
Have
Good
you
partnership. Good partnership.
Absolutely.
Looking back on your life, Bill, which you started doing TV and other media stuff, outdoor writing and all that back in the 60s, late 60s or so. Do it all over again, same way, everything?
Well, you learn a lot. I wouldn't take anything for what I've learned. I've learned a lot. Yeah, I see some things I would have done different. I think we'd all do that in life. Mm-hmm. But I've met a lot of great people. I've learned a lot. I've been fortunate. I've been very, very fortunate to have worked with a lot of great people. I know I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today had I not met a lot of great people. Mm-hmm. I've met a lot of very talented people that I work with that have helped me tremendously. I think that's the way it is with a lot of people. You're only as good as the people that you work with. And they don't get a lot of recognition. But they do a lot of hard work to make me look good, and that's hard to do. I'm telling you, it really is. But we've got 10 people at our production company. We've got 3 editors, and I've got all 3 editors can shoot, but they really don't spend very much time in the field. But I've got 3 cameramen that do. So, and then we've got our clerical workers. So we do all our work inside, and then our finished product are mailed to the networks. So last year we ran 4 networks. We ran NBC Sports, we ran the Discovery Channel, Destination America, and then we ran the Outdoor Channel and the what did we run? We ran 4 networks: the Sportsman Channel, the Outdoor Channel, NBC Sports, and then Destination America on Discovery. So this year we looked at the demographics, and we dropped NBC Sports and we dropped Discovery, and we're running the Outdoor Channel and the Sportsman Channel this year. And demographically, those are the big number channels with us. We hit a better niche with those 2 networks. So our saltwater series with the Sportsman Channel, and our freshwater series with the Outdoor Channel.
And I was looking at Bill Dance Outdoors. You got a great website, and the times are out there. It tells exactly the times and when you can go watch Bill Dance. How you like that saltwater, Bill, versus the freshwater stuff you've done?
Well, it took me a long time to learn to spell salt, and then it took me a long time to learn to spell. But I work with a lot of very, very talented people, and we kind of tailored that show the same way we did the freshwater show, to go with very knowledgeable people, and we made it kind of an educational format, and we tailored the show to the type of format that people could relate to.
Right.
When we started the show, the economy was kind of in a crunch, and more people could relate to inshore than they could blue water, offshore. And so we tailored it to speckled trout, redfish, tarpon, permit, inshore fish, shark, more so than going out for marlin or way off. It's more expensive to do that. And we hit a home run by doing that.
Smart, yeah.
So, and that's the way we've kept it. Now, we will go offshore now a little bit, but most of the shows still are tailored to inshore.
And I bet that kind of feels more like fishing here in Tennessee, the inshore stuff. Does it feel more comfortable when you're close to the shore working?
Well, a lot of the inshore stuff, you'd be surprised. It's a lot like bass fishing. A lot of it is.
Yeah.
The equipment you use, use some heavier stuff, but a lot of it is like for redfish. They're structurally oriented. Trout are kind of structurally oriented. A lot of the freshwater, saltwater fish that we fish for, they use structural features, and a lot of the baits you use, artificial type baits, or even live bait that you use, they relate to drop-offs, and high spots, and key structural features. So you use your graft a lot, you use your trolling motor a lot. You look for key structural features just like you would for bass.
Fine. This lake that's behind us, you fished a lot. Is this a home lake for you, Kentucky Lake, or are you more comfortable other places?
Well, I grew up fishing Pickwick Lake, and that's on the TVA chain,
right? And
it's just south of here. It's like Kentucky Lake.
Mm-hmm.
It's TVA. Pickwick is probably still one of my favorite fisheries. It's a type of lake that it's really 3 lakes in one, from the upper reaches up toward McFarland, below Wilson. It's a shallower lake, and as you work further north, it gets a little bit deeper. It's a different type pattern, and then as you work on toward the lower section of the lake, it's a deeper pattern. So it's 3 lakes in one, and Pickwick is a type of lake that it's a 12-month-a-year fishery. It offers all 3 species: the Kentucky bass, or the spotted bass, the smallmouth, and the largemouth.
And some big ones at that.
Well, it's
great smallmouth.
Yeah. It has good water quality. It has big feeder creeks that feed into it. It has all kind of key structural features. It's a tremendous fishery.
It is,
and it offers. When one thing isn't biting, there's something else going on. If you like to catch catfish, it's a good catfish fishery, good crappie fishery, and then it's got good tail race fishing. Below Pickwick Dam, the headwaters of Kentucky Lake. So there's something always going on at Pickwick.
There is, and you're Lynchburg. You grew up in Lynchburg and live over in West Tennessee now. The city is where are you now?
Well, I live about 30 miles east of Memphis.
Okay, all right.
In Collierville, north of Collierville.
Collierville. Sorry about that, Bill.
But I grew up. Spent a lot of time in Lynchburg, wading the creeks, and that's still my favorite.
Mulberry Creek?
Yeah, Mulberry Creek.
Mulberry Creek.
Mulberry Creek. And I still like fishing moving water, and I still do a lot of that east of Pickwick in the creeks, wading the creeks. I still love to do that and do a lot of it.
And that's the thing about you I've noticed through the years. You're a great bass fisherman, won a lot of tournaments when you were competing a long time ago, but you've always liked to catch every kind of fish that swims. Now you're doing the saltwater thing, but you've always liked the bluegill. You were talking to Garry Mason, who we'll have on after you today, but you were talking to him about bluegill. You just love to fish, just catch fish.
Well, I do. I'll fish for something for a while and I get tired of it. And that's why we're so blessed to live in a great state like Tennessee, because we've got so many different species of fish to fish for. I talked to a good buddy of mine not long ago that had fished in East Tennessee for muskies. You know, we're blessed to
Mountain
have
Hill, right?
To have a great in our state to have so many, as I said, so many different species. We've got a great muskie fishery in East Tennessee. We've got 2 Great Lakes at Milton Hill. That gigantic. You don't have to go north.
That's
way
right.
North.
They're coming here, I think, Bill, to
And
fish with us.
We've got great trout fishing in the east part of the state. We've got great crappie fishing. We've got excellent bluegill fishing at Reelfoot. Good crappie fishing at Reelfoot. We've got the Tennessee River. We've got the Mississippi River for excellent catfish. Just last weekend, I spent all day. I guess it was Sunday afternoon after church. We fished the Mississippi for catfish and had a great afternoon. We didn't catch anything gigantic, but we caught a lot of fish in the 10 to 20 pound class. But wow. That's a fun thing to do.
Jason and I were talking before the show. You spend so much time in front of a camera doing stuff. Do you ever just fish for Bill, or is there always a camera out there when Bill Dad's fishing?
No, that's what I said. Like the other day, we just went fun fishing.
Yeah,
and you've got sauger fishing, you've got walleye fishing, you've got striper fishing, rockfish. We've got so much to offer in our state. So if you get tired of doing one thing, just jump off on something else. Smallmouth fishing. What? We've got good bass fishing. We just broke state record over at Chickamauga. Yeah. That's a tremendous fishery.
It sure is.
And with the F1s or the largemouth, the Florida stocking that TWRA has done, in many of our lakes now, we're growing gigantic bass, and so we have a tremendous fishery in our state.
You give Bobby Wilson credit for all that kind of great fishing.
Yeah, Bobby's done a great job, and our fisheries they've done a good job.
They really have.
And our commissioners have done good. Bill Cox over in West Tennessee, and our other commissioners joined together and worked with the agency to make a lot of that happen.
All right, Jason, you were going to ask something.
Yeah, what's I see on your website you've got tips all over the website and different things. What's one tip a fisherman needs to know? What's the one thing you want to tell somebody if they've never been fishing before?
Well, I think you need to go as often as you can and try to go with knowledgeable fishermen. Observe, ask lots of questions, and I think you'll learn a lot. I think when people ask me that a lot of times, said, what's the best thing to do? To learn a lot about it, go with as many experienced fishermen as you can possibly go with, and observe. Ask lots of questions. Don't try to be a know-it-all. Observe what he does and ask lots of questions. You learn. Experience is the greatest teacher in the world.
Don't be afraid to try new techniques either, right?
Yeah, don't try to learn too much at one time.
Okay.
Use lures that work for you. And instead of trying to use lures that you have to work. I know as a youngster growing up with my children, if you've got a kid, a youngster, it's a whole lot easier for him to throw a bait that works for him, like a crankbait. That bait works for him instead of him trying to work a grub or a jig and plastic combination in 20 feet of water. He's got to work that bait, and it's much harder for him to work it. And he gets tired if it's not productive, and he gets burnt out with it real quick.
That's just a couple of weeks ago. I took my son and put on a little floating crank. It was crawfish. He cast that thing all day long. Didn't get tired of it, always reeling.
He can feel the bait moving.
Yeah. And reeled in a little fish on the creek. So
he did. What does Bill Dance do when he's not fishing? Is there a hobby that you have? For most of us, fishing is our hobby. Does Bill Dance have a hobby?
Well, doing 39 original shows a year, I enjoy writing. And writing our educational type shows. Our format is an educational format.
It is, for
and
sure.
I enjoy writing.
You're a sketcher too, aren't you? You sketch?
Pardon?
Do you sketch also? Or you sketch out some of your
we
stuff?
do. We do a lot of art in our programs.
Okay, and so writing has always been, and I know your family. Just reading some of your history and just from other interviews with you, Bill, that you come from a family of doctors, and you thought about being a doctor at one time, but fate turned you towards.
Well, my
fishing
daddy,
instead.
granddaddy, great granddaddy, they go back, and I had considered it, and I saw a bad wreck one time, and I was right behind her and saw a bad motorcycle wreck, and that just turned me 180, and I said, I just can't do this, and I'm kind of glad that it happened that way. And I just.
Sorry about the motorcycle wreck, but it turned out good for all of us that you went into this industry.
Well, it turned out great for me too.
It did, but you've taught so many of us so much through the years.
Made a big
watching your shows.
big impact on Tennessee and many sportsmen.
And I have a question too about a license plate. I think you're number one smallmouth plate in Tennessee. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, they gave me that. Bobby did, and I was kind of honored to get that plate. We kind of promoted that plate when it first came out, and I got a call from Bobby. I think Bobby said, I'm going to give you this plate. And then I think the governor got the second one, and I think the director got the third one.
That sounds right.
And I believe it was. And I've still got it. It's sitting on that truck right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Number one plate.
Well, I'd like to get a photograph
Yeah,
of that.
yeah,
I want to see that. Yeah.
Get you a selfie with that, though.
Yeah, I want a selfie with that. I think Bobby Wilson has number 5, and he worked his tail off. He deserves it. So, but he said
absolutely.
Bill Dance needed to be number 1, and nobody disagreed with
Isn't
that.
Bobby a great guy?
He is, and and of course he's been.
He started down here, and he's worked his way all the way up
He
through
has.
the ranks, and a very deserving guy and a great guy and a great friend. I think a lot of Bobby, and Bobby has done so much for the commission. And
He does, and just talked to Bobby today. And anyway, he also has done something else with you, and the one fish that we're not too happy about Tennessee, you went over to him to the Mississippi River and looked for some Asian carp or silver carp.
Oh, yeah,
And
they're
what
a
did y'all see
nuisance.
over there? Yeah.
yeah, that is the most detrimental thing that's ever happened to our fishery, and they're a nuisance. They really are. They're a nuisance. I think the two things that probably, and our agency's aware of it, but the two things probably that have hurt our fisheries, of course, are the Asian carp, the big head, and the silver. They're in most of our waterways, and what we can do about it, I think I talked to Mike Butler with the Tennessee Wildlife Federation the other day, and I think there's a board being appointed, and Mike's going to be on that board to see what we can do about them.
Correct.
The thing about them, they occupy so much available water space, and they just, I know in many of the oxbow lakes, there's just so many cows can live in a field.
Right.
There's so many squirrels can live in an acre of woods. There's so many fish can live in an acre of water. And when these things just begin to occupy all of that space, something's got to give. And these things have just taken over. I mean, it's unbelievable how I can show you in behind dikes on the river where we had abundance of shad, threadfin, gizzard, our freshwater herring. They're not there anymore. These things have just, I can show you graph shots from 5 to 10 feet below the surface all the way down 40, 50 feet. It's just solid red. You drop a treble hook and just jerk it one time and foul hook them. They're just.
Yeah, we're trying to find a way to get these commercial fishermen interested in them, and maybe we will over time, and with help from folks like
if you could get
too.
a market for them,
what we're working on.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, you're going to be at this event tonight, and then
Right.
your schedule is going to take you elsewhere. But you're going to get started back on Bill Dance Outdoors. What does that mean when you say get started on it again? You just now getting ready to tape next year's shows, or where is it going to take you?
Well, we're way ahead, doing 39 shows.
39.
Yeah. I'll leave in. I'll leave in about as soon as I get back from Charlotte. We've got that with Martin Truex that shoot next week, and then I'll come back, and then I'll turn around and go back to Florida, and we'll do a couple of tarpon shows around the Palm Bay area on the Indian River, and then we'll go up to Jacksonville and do some stuff at the mouth of the St. John's on redfish, and then probably head back home and do a few bass shows somewhere, and then kind of coast for a while till the weather gets cooler again.
I didn't know there was a coasting time for you.
Yeah, we've been running since January. So.
And do you have any idea how many shows that you've done since you started way back? You ever touched that down and actually put it
hundreds
into it?
and hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah.
We run 52 weeks a year, so we're doing we do 39 right now, and no telling how many. And our bites, we do. We're doing bites, and we do blogs, and we do.
Right, I was going to ask you about your blog. Tell us about your blog.
Well, the bites are what are strong right now. We do our bites for our Facebook on YouTube, and they're doing exceptionally well. And then we do blogs. We're doing deals for Tennessee tourism one a month on lakes across the state. We'll pick one lake. Like we started out the first of the year on Dale Hollow, and what a tremendous fishery
Isn't
that
it,
is.
though?
And that
Awesome.
has rebounded so well. TWR has done a great job on that. Then we left there, and then we went to Reelfoot and did a deal on Reelfoot crappie, and then from there we went back to where did we go? We left and went to Kentucky Lake and got a little bit ahead. The weather, they say spring is such a great time.
Right.
But spring can be a horrible time.
It can be a horrible time.
Because of the frontal systems that come through and cool nights and, long days. You get bright sunshine. It'll be in the warming time. It'll warm up, and then the colder nights, the photo time is like from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and then you get the cold nights it starts chilling back down, and then you get fronts. Normally the fronts in the fall of the year, our fronts normally start moving in around November, late October, and we'll get one like every 36 hours a front will start moving through. But if you'll watch the spring, we're starting to get them. It's not uncommon for us to get one every 36 hours.
Mm-hmm. Had a good one yesterday.
That's right.
Sure did.
And the rains, the cool nights, the cold nights. Like other night, we were down 40 degrees. Mm-hmm. And that drops that water temperature. The fish move up, they move out. They move up, they move out. And just talking to Garry Mason, the crappie on Kentucky Lake, you know what this month is? You know what the date is right now?
I do.
The crappie hadn't even spawned yet.
Yeah, and we're in early May doing this show
early
right
May,
here.
and the crappie hadn't even spawned yet.
So you can still catch them.
Yeah, but it's a temperature. They'll start to move up, and then the temperature drops. They'll move back out. They move up, they move out. So spring is not
always much as it's cracked up to be.
No, it's not.
It can be tough.
Absolutely.
Were you ever a night fisherman, Bill? I know.
I used to have a place on Pickwick, and I used to night fish 3 or 4 nights a week at Pickwick. And then the grass got in Pickwick, and a lot of our bars and our 3 to 10 foot bars, they just they got covered with grass, and that fishery just kind of slowed down. And we don't catch the big smallmouth at Pickwick that we used to catch. I don't know what happened to them, but we just don't catch them.
Yeah.
I talked to the director. Missouri director of Department of Conservation. They're not Missouri. They call them Director of Conservation.
I think they're a DNR.
DNR, but we're game and fish.
Right.
But he told me the other day they had tagged a smallmouth on the Current River in Missouri, and they watched this smallmouth, and that fish moved 70 miles in 1 year.
Wow.
I did not know that, yeah.
Yeah, and the next year, he moved from one location, he moved back. He covered 70 miles in 1 year. Through tagging, a telemetry.
Telemetry study, right.
And then the next year, he moved another 70 miles. And the third year, he moved half that distance, and somebody caught him and removed him, but didn't release him. But anyway, I think a lot of our smallmouth, and I've watched it in Pickwick tail race, we'll catch them some real nice fish in the winter, and then they leave, and we'll start catching them better fish further north. Of course, the river's flowing north, and then those fish, you'll keep catching them. They keep moving further north, further north, further north. And I'd like to see more tagging on our fish just to see what they do. And our fish at Pickwick, I think a lot of those fish move further south, up toward McFarland. And the better numbers of smallmouth come from the Wilson tail race. And we lose those fish in the Pickwick area that we used to just catch numbers of nice smallmouth. They move.
Yeah, I didn't know smallmouth moved that much myself.
Well, Missouri, their tagging programs are showing that they do.
Yeah,
but now that's in the river. That's in the river. But if they do it in the river, I don't know why they wouldn't do it in the lake too.
Well, that answers one of my questions I was fixing to ask you is, do you know the answer to all bass questions now? I guess you're still learning after all these years too.
Well, I talked to Jim Duckworth, and he thinks a lot of that in Dale Hollow, a lot of those fish migrate. They move in the lake in big numbers.
Right.
They migrate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know about that study. Is if you had your smallmouth?
But to answer your question, I did a lot of fishing up there.
Yeah.
Until the grass moved in, and I kind of got away, and a lot of traffic and more people, numbers of people in the traffic and the number of people. And I sold my place up there, and I still go up there, but mostly in the winter, and then I go back and fish the creeks a lot in the summer months.
We only got a couple minutes, and I'm a creek fisherman myself, or used to be in my heyday. What do you like best? What kind of bait do you like the best in the creek when you're fishing?
I can't wait to hear this.
I fish a grub a lot. In the creek.
Just a good old 3-inch?
4-inch.
4-inch?
I fish a 4-inch grub a lot in the creeks. I really do. And I fish a topwater bait a lot in the creeks. I fish, it depends on the time of the year. In the winter, I fish a jig and plastic combination a lot in the winter.
So you wade the creek in the wintertime?
Yeah.
Yeah, good deal.
Yeah.
All right. So plastic baits.
Yeah.
You ever do the live stuff in the creek?
Not much. I don't have a live bait sponsor. So I just,
sorry about that, Bill. That was dumb.
No,
anyway,
no.
Sorry about that.
But I fish a lot of grubs. A grub is just kind of a bait that we got away from fishing. But a grub is a high percentage bait.
Yeah, they've been around a long time.
I love them, and I fish them in creeks too. And I also fished 4-inch worms in the creek, but I didn't have a sponsor.
There's nothing wrong with that. A 4-inch worm is a high percentage bait.
Is that the one bait you won't leave home without? A grub?
I've got them. I fish them a lot. I really do.
Yeah.
Well, good.
No, I fish a grub a lot.
All right. I love hearing that you like the creeks, and I know Mulberry Creek. I've fished it a time or two.
I've got one question, and we've talked about fishing, but does Bill Dance like to hunt too? Does he ever have time to get out and enjoy the woods?
I still hunt, but all my hunting is for fish.
Yeah. Right. It is hunting.
I used to. Yeah, it is hunting. I used to hunt a lot, and I don't hunt anymore. Yeah. I just.
You're a busy man.
My kids do, but I don't. I just don't hunt anymore.
Yeah. And how many children do you have, Bill?
I have 3 boys and a girl.
And any grandchildren?
I got 7.
7 grand. Your wife is Diane, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. And you're Collierville.
Yeah. Our production company's in Collierville, and I live just north of there.
Okay. All right. Well, we really appreciate it. We're going to run out of time
Yeah,
here.
it's always good to
minute,
see you guys.
Yeah. It's great.
Give them
do a
one more
great
time.
job.
Well, thank you. And if they want to find you, you got a Facebook page. It's Bill Dance. It's easy to find. You got your website, Bill Dance Outdoors, and then you got your blog and your bites.
Right.
And anything else you want to tell them?
No, just watch us when you can on the Outdoor Channel and on the Sportsman Channel. We're there 3 times a week and 52 weeks a year.
And if you want to see Bill's bloopers, you can go watch them on YouTube anytime you want to.
Or watch us on that. We can do a blooper every time we're on the air.
We might do one here in a minute.
Yeah,
we're going to
fall out of this chair.
Get you back to your trot lines that you were working in.
Yeah.
Bill, thank you.
Buddy,
I
thank you.
appreciate
Good to
everything
see
you do for Tennessee.
I appreciate you.
Thank you
so
so much.
Jason.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, we're going to come back with Garry Mason. He is the CEO of Legends of the Outdoors, and he's also a great fisherman. We're going to talk about catching shellcracker and bluegill on this lake and about the legends and a whole lot more. And we're going to get Bill over to his truck. I want to see that number 1. I want a photograph of it, all right?
Yeah,
we'll show it to you.
All right, everybody. Come back next week, tnwildlife.org, if you want to see all our stuff.
Last year, 14 people died because of a boating accident.
9 of them would have still been with us if they had been wearing their life jackets.
They float, you don't.
Put it on, forget about it. If you need it, it's here.
It's cool, comfortable, and good looking. Wear your life jacket.
I wear one so I can come home at the end of the day. Wear it.
Most people who drown in boating accidents, they know how to swim.
It doesn't matter, bulky or comfortable, just wear one. I'll keep the orange one, I think it's stylish.
Tampons, no problem with this belt pack.
Just wear it, Tennessee.
Life jackets float. You don't, so just wear it.
Wear it, Tennessee!
All right, everyone, welcome to the show. Background looks a little different today, right? It's behind the background we all love. We're sitting here at Kentucky Lake on this beautiful May day, getting ready for a big charity tournament tomorrow. Folks are out everywhere on this water fishing for shell cracker, bluegill, largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, silver carp. Well, maybe not silver carp, but they're fishing for a lot of different stuff here. And we're not, but we're going to talk to a guy that's really good at what he does. There's Jason Harmon over there.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome in.
Really good at what he does, too. He set all this up out here. And this is Garry Mason right here. Garry is the CEO of the Legends of the Outdoors. He's been a guide on this lake for a long time. Semi-retired now because he's too busy doing other stuff. He helps with the West Tennessee Tourism, heads that up. He's the coach of the Bethel College University fishing team, one of the best fishing teams in the United States. Right. And Garry, what do you do when you're not playing?
Well, I tell you, I got the greatest jobs in the world, and everything I do goes hand in hand with everything else I do. So, people ask me all the time, well, when do you sleep? Well, when you got the greatest job in the world, you don't have to sleep much.
Garry, you are well known over here. Grew up in Buchanan or Buchanan?
Buchanan. 4 miles that way.
Okay, all right. So, and Brenda Valentine is from that general area.
Yes, sir.
She's a good friend of yours.
Brenda and I grew up together. She's a little bit older than me and a whole lot prettier. And I grew up with her family and my family. We all went to school together. And matter of fact, her and my aunt were best friends throughout school. So.
All right, just all these people from here, just great sportsmen in this part of the world. How can you help but not be, right?
Well, yeah, we grew up in an area. There wasn't many deer here. There was no turkeys at all, but there was a lot of other game to chase. And the thing about growing up in Northwest Tennessee at that time, you worked throughout the week. You went to school. And then on Saturday, you done whatever you had to do in the garden or in the tobacco patch or whatever. And on Sunday afternoon after church, you got to go hunting or fishing. And we spent our time, you didn't hang around the house much if you didn't have anything to do because mom and dad put you to hoe in the garden or something. So
head to the lake.
We headed to the lake or in some of the creeks and stuff around or the woods. And
always doing something. And I named that 3 or 4 things a minute ago, but you do even more than that. I think you've trained dogs, you've guided for hunting, you just and what else?
I've had a phenomenal career in the outdoors. I guided part-time until 1991, and in 1991 the company I worked for 16 and a half years closed the doors.
Yep.
And I tell everybody that folks that I worked with went to the unemployment office and I went hunting and fishing, and I've been doing that ever since. And everything that I have created, of course, has been with the help of the man upstairs because I wasn't smart enough to do any of this on my own. And but the things that I've created was with help from others, and I'm very proud of all that we've accomplished. We're honoring the great men and women in the outdoors with the Legends Outdoors. We're creating a legacy with the Bethel University Collegiate Bass Fishing Program. And with Northwest Tennessee Tourism, I'm able to help bring folks into our great area of Northwest Tennessee, Reelfoot Lake and Kentucky Lake, and everything in between, to enjoy the things that we all enjoy. And some of us may even take them for granted, but we've just got such a great area for fishing and hunting and horseback riding, golf, and all kinds of different things here that I get to help promote that too.
All right, before we get into the Legends and some of the other stuff, let's just talk fishing for a minute. You've been out today, took a friend out
I have.
on the day that we put this show together, and this is a time of year that Vernon Summerlin, a good friend of ours, used to come up and spend a lot of time with you. We'd come up and spend some crappie time with you, a little bass time with you, but then we come up and do this shell cracker bluegill thing.
Absolutely.
Give us a fish report, Gary. What do you look for in May on Kentucky Lake and going forward?
Well, fortunately for those that hadn't got to get out on the lake yet, it's this last few days we've had blackberry winter, which the blackberries are blooming and it turned off cold, which it
sure
does.
did.
It does every year. But fortunately for those that hadn't got out yet, I think we're about a week to a week and a half behind on our bluegill and shell crackers. And they're making beds out there in the lake right now, but it's time to get out. This next couple of weeks is going to be prime time for bluegill and shell crackers, and even on into the first week of June. So get out right now.
Well, Jason hasn't fished a whole lot for shell crackers. I'm going to try to take him to a little reservoir called Woods pretty soon and try to catch some shell cracker and bluegill. But give tips to Jason because I don't need them.
Hold on now.
Well, some of
he knows I do, Jason.
The technology we've got today is phenomenal for bluegill fishing because you can actually take a hummingbird side finder and with side imaging technology and see the bluegill beds. There's thousands in any lake.
Really?
We as humans only know where there's 20 or 30 maybe if we're a really good fisherman. Some of us might not know where that many is, but this technology that we got available today, if you don't have one, that's the best thing to have if you're going bluegill fishing. I used to ride around in the wintertime in the low winter pool of Kentucky Lake and look for places where gravel had washed into the lake or any kind of rise in the bottom that was hard, even sand, and I know that bluegill were going to bed up on that. The shell crackers are going to be in more toward the vegetation most of the time. They might be around a bluegill bed, but they like to get in that 12, 18 inches of water. So right now, the bluegill that I have found, the beds I've found, most of them have been in 2.5 foot of water or less. You're kicking up mud with your trolling motor.
Wow.
So, but as the water temperature warms up to 70, 72 degrees, the deeper that temperature warms up, the deeper these fish will bed as May continues on. So I found one bed in 5 foot of water today, but you're going to find some beds starting to get deeper and deeper.
All right, and I've learned a lot. Kidding, a minute ago, I've learned a lot from Gary. We used to call it the Mason method. We even wrote about it. So he likes to fish a good little grub or jig underneath a bobber, and you're really good at it. And
that was going to be my question. Was it grub or is it a live bait or what do you like?
And crickets.
I like everything. I don't know why a bluegill likes a cricket. He ain't never seen one. But I guess it's kind of like the first time I took my first bite of steak. I had never seen one of them either. But
that's true.
But they love them and they love red worms, and the shell crackers really love worms, and shell crackers especially will hit artificial bait probably better than they do live bait, and you don't have to rebait.
Right.
When you're using artificial bait with stuff like Charlie Burr grubs, and there's other things out there that
and that's a plastic grub, right? Just a little old short plastic grub,
right? Yep. And I like to put a BB split shot up above it and throw it either with a float or no float, depending on the depth of the water. And the other thing is depending on whether you want anybody else to know that it's there or not, because when you put that float on, it's like a red flag. Everybody says, "Oh, they're bluegill fishing right there," But folks love to fish. They love to bluegill fish, and anytime you can go to Reelfoot Lake or here or any of our other great Tennessee reservoirs and catch 100, 150 fish in a day's outing, you've had a great time.
Gary, this Kentucky Lake, has always been pretty famous. Is it more famous than ever now? It just seems like people are here year-round almost to me, and the Kentucky Lake makes national news and gets all these massive tournaments coming in here. Is it as famous as ever? Or
I think it's probably a lot more so. In 88, 89, 87, we started getting milfoil in this lake, and the bass fishery really started picking up. This lake was always known as a great crappie lake. Reelfoot Lake was known as a great bluegill lake, and that's kind of flip-flopped a little bit.
Yeah.
Reelfoot now has got it's really become known as crappie, and Kentucky Lake has started becoming known as bass, and so we've got a great fishery here. It continues to get better and better each year. Now we've got Florida strain largemouth bass in the lake, and so the bass fishery here is just on fire. It's been phenomenal the last 10 years, really, but especially the last 5 years. So the lake is in great condition. We've got a lot of fish here. I had a lady bluegill fishing with me today caught a 18-inch sauger.
A sauger?
A sauger. I
nice
have not
surprise.
seen an 18-inch sauger in years.
Wow.
And she caught one today, and we turned it back loose. She was sportsman enough. She said, "Let's turn it back loose."
How about that?
We turned it back loose. So.
That is great. Well, this is just a wonderful lake, and I have had many good times with you and Steve McAdams over here and others coming to this lake. And Gary, you you've taught a lot of folks. You brought in a lot of writers at one time, a lot of outdoor communicators, and you taught us all a lot about fishing Kentucky Lake when we came over here. And people have written about you all over the country too. So you've taught no telling how many folks about fishing this lake through the time.
I tell folks I've seen a lot of people get in the guide business and get out. And as you said a while ago, I'm kind of semi-retired from the guide business now, but still take a lot of folks. I even take folks for free now, believe it or not, but outdoor riders. So hint, if you want to come over.
I do.
But
can I come along?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The really neat thing that you've got to be a good guide, like Steve and some of the other guides that are here that's still working, and hopefully I fit in that category. But you got to love watching people take game or catch fish more than you like doing it yourself,
right?
Because they don't come to watch Garry catch fish; they come to catch fish and to learn. And a really good guide, no matter what lake and part of the country that he's in, a really good guide is going to be someone that enjoys teaching others to do what he loves to do.
Right. You can have a great time actually not catching fish with the right guide.
Absolutely.
And most of the time the guides catch fish or take your own fish is what I'm saying, and you do well. But a
good
guide,
you will learn. It's spelled Guide.
So. Yeah. All right. And Garry, right?
That's right. Garry. It's a southern way of saying it.
All right, Garry. Another question or two on the lake, and then we'll get into the legends and stuff. Duck hunting. Throw a curveball a little bit. How was duck hunting, or how is it on this lake? Because you've done a lot of guiding there too.
Yeah, our duck hunting has kind of slowed down a little bit here. Last year we had a lot of warm weather across the Mississippi Flyway. It didn't get cold until 1st of January, and then we started getting a ton of rain. So duck hunting is always depending on the type of weather. Every duck hunter wishes for a hard cold front every week, but we have as many ducks come through here a lot of times on a good warm front. They come up through Mississippi and stuff like that. So duck hunting here is still good and still a lot of opportunities thanks to TWRA with our wildlife management areas and our blinds that are drawn for here in Camden and Big Sandy and Gin Creek, Harmon's Creek. So we've still got a lot of opportunities for duck hunting.
All right, and I'm going to go back a little bit and ask you a somewhat sort of maybe minor, I don't know how it is over here, controversial question. There's some discussion over here on crappie. I know some anglers haven't been real happy with the crappie numbers coming out of the lake in the last year or so. I kind of feel like they cycle like everything else, but what is your feeling, Garry? What's the feeling of sportsmen over here right now?
I think most of the sportsmen over here think that there's something that needs to be done, either less of a or more size limit, but larger size limit, or less of a creel. But my feeling is when we've got wildlife biologists hired to do a job, let them do the job, let them make the recommendations. Even though I'm out here every day, I don't know what those guys know, and I don't see the data that they see in the surveys that they know how to do. All I see is what I catch on any given day, or hear what some other sportsman here catches. Our fishery does cycle, especially with crappie. And sometimes it's a 3 or 4 year cycle. I believe we're in that right now, and I believe that in 2 years we'll be back into an upswing on the cycle.
What is the creel limit here and size limit on Kentucky Lake?
The creel limit is 30, and the size limit is 10 inches.
All right. So we'll see. And I did talk to Jason Henniger, one of our biologists, just this day before we put this together, and he said we're going to do a little bit of video work coming up to try to explain what's going on, Jason and I, and some other folks try to explain what's going on with crappie on Kentucky Lake, just give you a heads up and everybody else.
One thing you got to remember that as long as the biologists say that we're in good shape with any species and we're able to make an economic impact through tourism on that fishery, then I think we ought to follow our guys' leads that are paid to do the job.
Okay. All right, Jason, any more fishing questions before we move on?
Well, what's one thing you don't leave home without when you're going on the water, whether it's bass, crappie, or whatever you're fishing for? What's the one bait you won't leave home without?
Charlie Brewer slider grub. Absolutely. Will not. No, my truck does not go anywhere that there's not a slider grub in there.
Made in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee.
Made in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee.
I love his stuff. I'm going to second a lot of that. My days of big creek fishing, if there wasn't a 4-inch Charlie Brewer worm in my tackle box, I turned around, went back to the house and got him. So he makes great baits.
He does. They've got some fabulous baits. They've got a lot of stuff now that he didn't have 5 years ago too, as far as bass fishing stuff. So you need to get back on his website and take a look at him and see what he's got.
All right, Garry, let's talk about the Legends. You have already come out with this year's. First of all, let's explain what the Legends is. The first class, I believe, was in 2002. It's
That's
a Hall of Fame. Jimmy Hope went in there. Bill Dance went in there. Roland Martin went in there.
Roland went in there. Earl Bentz.
Triton Boats.
Harold Knight and David Hale went in there. Jimmy Holt, of course, was the very first person that we inducted. I don't know if you know this or not. You probably do. I was down at Ray Scott's place the other day, and Ray gave me the very first Bassmaster magazine, and guess who's on the cover?
I bet I know.
Jimmy Holt.
Jimmy Holt. And if you're across the state or near, you don't know Jimmy Holt's like the Bill Dance of Tennessee, or at least Middle Tennessee,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
And very well respected sportsman.
Tennessee Outdoorsman.
Outdoorsman show.
So, but anyway, these guys, the Hall of Fame members. In 2002, I looked around, and I love the Country Music Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame. And the internet was just starting to get big, thanks to Al Gore. But the internet was just starting to get big. And so I looked around and I couldn't find a Hall of Fame that wasn't exclusive to a species of either fish or game.
Right.
And I told my wife one day, I said, they don't have a Hall of Fame in America for people in the outdoors industry. I said, somebody ought to do something about that. And she looked at me and she said, well, aren't you somebody? And I kind of took that as a challenge and sat down the next day, come up with the name Legends of the Outdoors. A week later, and she's not an artist, but a week later we was in a restaurant in Murray, Kentucky, and I said, I need a logo for the Legends of the Outdoors. And she sat there and drew it out, and that's been our logo ever since. We started honoring the great men and women of this country, not only those that you see in front of the camera, but those that you see behind the camera, artists, outdoor writers and communicators, people that have started companies, like Bill Huntley with TH Marine, and this year will be W.R. Sowie, who co-founded with his brother Flambeau. So we are the only Hall of Fame in America that offers an opportunity to honor people from all walks of the outdoors industry.
And I know, Gary, when it first started, the thought would be, well, how many people can you possibly honor? How long can you? But it's endless, isn't it? There's so many people that have done it and still doing it. It's innovative stuff out there.
When you take a look at the way we honor people and the way we go find them, the number is endless. As a matter of fact, the sad part is there's people like Ricky Green that just passed away, and others, Doug Hannon, that we won't never get to before they pass on to God's great reward. And then they don't need us any longer because they got the best reward in the world, or out of the world, we'll say.
Still got family members, though, and it makes them feel good to know that they're in there.
Yeah, this year we're going to induct Fred Bear posthumously. And
talk about famous.
Absolutely. W.R. Sowie, Fred Bear, a lady angler named Lucy Mize, who at the time won $50,000 on Kentucky Lake as a lady angler, and it had never been done before, winning that much money. Let's see, Mark and Terry Drury, George Thornton of the NWTF is going in, CEO of NWTF. And I know I'm leaving out Colorado Buck. Everybody knows who Colorado is. So those will be the guys that go in here in the next year, this upcoming year, August 27th on the General Jackson Showboat.
All right, let's stay on that a minute. August 27th, General Jackson's Showboat. Where is that, and how can you learn more about it? On the website.
The event's held in Nashville, Tennessee, right behind Opryland on the General Jackson Showboat on the Cumberland River, one of the finest showboats in the world.
It is a cool place.
We also do a thing that Friday night that you can actually buy a ticket and take a ride on the boat with the Legends, and we call it Ride with the Legends. There'll be other people on board, but Hank Parker and Martha was there with us last year, and Babe Winkleman, and all those great folks was on the boat actually taking a ride, getting to watch those entertainers that play on the showboat each and every night. They're phenomenal.
They are great, and I attended it last year and saw Hank Parker. He was up there emceeing with you, along with you. He is one funny guy.
Oh, Hank is great.
He is great.
Tell you a quick story. Martha didn't tell Hank that he was going to be the MC. So that Friday night on the boat, Hank said, "Now, Gary, just exactly what do you want me to do tomorrow?" I said, "Well, Hank, you're the MC." He said, "Well, I didn't bring a blazer or a dinner jacket." And I said, "Well, I've got one." I said, "You can wear mine," and because I had two in the truck, and what I had forgotten was that Hank is only about 6 inches taller than me.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
And his arms are about 5 inches longer, so didn't bother Hank at all. He put my blazer on, and it fit him fine, except the sleeves come up to about his elbows. He never let up. He just kept right on going, and we had a great time. But this is what this is all about, is saying thanks. This is just like a big family reunion each and every year. It's a great opportunity to get to meet a lot of folks that you've been your heroes for a long time.
Okay, and your website is where if they want to learn more?
www.legendsoftheoutdoors.com, or you can punch my name in, Garry Mason with 2 R's, and that'll bring it up. And you can go on there. My contact information is at the bottom of the page. You can call me anytime.
some of us outdoor riders got in trouble a lot of times with GARRY, but we learned after a while.
I tell folks to call me whatever they want to as long as they call me to supper.
All right. It's a great event, and I hope folks will consider going to it. Gary puts a lot of work in it. So do a lot of other folks. And one of the surprise guests, at least for me last year, was Miss Tennessee.
Absolutely,
hanging out.
Yeah, absolutely. Miss Hannah Robinson, and I don't know if you know this. Hannah's family owns Buchanan Resort right here on the lake. I grew up with them. I worked at Buchanan Resort when I was 15, and Hannah grew up there, and she's Miss Tennessee. Matter of fact, she was like the number 3 runner-up for Miss America.
That's awesome. She's a pretty girl.
Beautiful girl.
And seemed like so nice. She was so cordial all day long to everybody.
The whole family is great people. The Robinson family, the Williams family, and Buchanan family started that resort, and I think this is their 5th generation. So wonderful people.
All right, let's get into higher education. Jason, you might want to ask some questions on this yourself. Higher education.
Get educated. Here we go.
Gary, you started coaching the Bethel University bass fishing team a few years ago. Tell us about that, and tell us the opportunity for these future students in college. Are they going to have? Is it going to grow? Is there going to be a greater chance for them to go to school on a bass fishing scholarship down the road?
Yeah, we got 5 colleges now following in our footsteps. University of Montevallo just started giving scholarships. So, but in 2009, the college called me. My daughter worked there, and the athletic department called me and asked me to come over and sit down and talk to them about a possible bass fishing team. Well, of course, I wasn't looking for a job. Didn't know they was going to offer me one. But I talked to the athletic director and his 2 assistants, and the first question they asked me was, what would you do if you were going to start a bass team here at Bethel in order to entice students to come here? And I immediately told them I'd offer scholarship funding, because there's no place in America that's offering scholarships to go to college and be on a bass fishing team. There's a lot of bass fishing teams out there, but they're clubs, and they're run by the students. But I said, what we need here in America is we need teams actually run by paid coaches with monies that help the teams go and compete and so on and so forth. We've been three-time national champions. We won the Cabela's Boat US in 2013. We're getting ready to go back and try to defend our title once again at the end of this month. But we've got 24 students on the team right now, and I think I've recruited 8 for next year. High school bass fishing is growing faster than any other sport in America.
That's great, right?
Right.
All across the country, just in the South? Where is it growing, Gary? Everywhere?
The South especially, but all across the country. I got 2 kids from Wisconsin. I signed one last year and signed one this year from Washington State. I've got a kid from Pennsylvania. I got 3 kids from South Carolina, 2 from North Carolina.
Yeah, you're actually recruiting, just like a college, football, baseball.
Absolutely.
How do you find? Well, I'm going to give away your secrets, but how do you find a great high school?
I don't get to go watch them like the baseball guy or the football guy does. So what I do is I ask them to send me a resume. Most of the time, my students help me find other great anglers. The other thing we do is I offer a scholarship to the 2 champions of the Bassmasters High School Champions if they want to come to Bethel and be on the team, and 2 from the TBF FLW National High School Championship. And then on the Triton Boat Owners Tournament, my best friend was Tom Moody, passed away about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And we do the Tom Moody Memorial Scholarship through Triton, where we offer a young person that fishes the Triton Boat Owners Tournament a chance to come to Bethel and go to school.
Okay, keep that in mind, Jason. Tucker, he's what, 5 years old? Time he gets up there.
I got a question. How do the kids have their own boats, or how's that sponsored?
It's about 70-30. We've got 5 boats that Triton helped us get, and then the kids bring their own boats. We've got a boat building that we can store 10 boats in. We give those chances to store boats to our upperclassmen that are living on campus, first come, first serve. And then the other students, they got to figure out where to store their boat and stuff. But these kids live and dream fishing. They've watched it all their lives. I'll tell you one thing that they can do that us guys don't even have a chance. They're so hip on this technology.
Right.
I mean, absolutely. If I got a problem with my depth finder, I call them and say, hey, what do I need to do? I've been running these depth finders for years and years and years, but these kids know it. They grew up with it. Like video games, it's just second nature to them.
Yeah, that would be a nice advantage to have. They just don't know how lucky they are to have this great technology. Or maybe they do now. Maybe your kids do.
I think they do. The greatest compliment that any coach of anything can ever receive is for people to say, well, I met some of your kids and they're the nicest kids. They was yes, sir, no, sir. And that's the kind of kids that we recruit at Bethel for the bass fishing team. And not only do we have a bass fishing team, we've got inline hockey, we've got archery. My assistant coach, Kenny Loudon, coaches the archery team, and former commissioner, TWRA Commissioner Bub Edwards, coaches the shooting team. He's done really well with that program over the years.
Bethel's special, isn't it? I love the way they love the outdoors.
I tell you, we do. We have become the premier outdoor university in America.
Are you? Is it like football, baseball? Is it Division I? Do you compete in Division I, Division II? How do you
We compete nationwide against when we go to one of these tournaments, there's liable to be, like this Cabela's Boat US tournament, there'll be 240 boats. And from everywhere, we go to the Bassmasters National Championship. There'll be 150 boats in that. So we would compete against all the SEC teams, Big Ten schools, Wisconsin, all of them.
Well, I know not all of them offer scholarships yet. Do you see it down the road as going that way at some point, maybe?
I certainly hope so, because I tell you, these students need a lot of help. Right now, mom and dad's funding everything for them in most cases, to go fish and do what they love doing. So I hope that other colleges will follow in our footsteps. I've even tried to help a couple. Bryan University over in Dayton, Tennessee. I helped their coach with their, understanding how you need to put their program together. And, it's not rocket science. It's just good business functions to learn how to put this stuff together where you can have a great team. And here's the deal, our fishing team gets publicity. We're in front of cameras everywhere we go. Mm-hmm. Walking up on stage, whether we win, lose, or draw, we still get Bethel's name across that stage in front of a national television camera every tournament we fish. All
right, and what's as the coach, what is the most important thing you teach them right up front when they come in for that first day with Coach Mason? What do you tell them?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell them that it's my rules, it's my way. This is my team. And, me and my assistant coach and the athletic department, we set rules and standards and guidelines to go by. But if they'll do just a few things that I ask them to do and make the grades and go to class, they'll reap some huge rewards and benefits from it down the road when they do move up to the travel team. I've got a varsity team and a junior varsity team, just like any other program on our campus. And once these kids move up to the varsity team, they're pretty much on their way to being great fishermen.
Okay, for the rest, they got it the rest of their lives. Well, some of them go and follow the big FL or BASS tournament, FLW, BASS. Will they just go on and be great fishermen who just enjoy what they're doing, or a combination of everything?
They all dream of being a professional angler. Mm-hmm. And BFL and some of the other tournaments, the Bassmasters Opens and some of those things offer them the opportunity to fish some of those. Some of them do. Zach Parker and Cody Ross and some of them guys that's already graduated have been fishing some of those tournaments. It's really hard to get in like the elite or the FLW just because of the monetary issues that you have when you try to go turn pro. And after college, you got student debt. And it's hard to go into $50,000 more or $100,000.
That's the thing they got to learn, how expensive it is to be.
It's a very expensive sport, but it's a very gratifying sport, and it's a sport that a lot of these kids will try to go.
Are you getting the females in it?
I've got one girl that's graduating this year. She's absolutely a fabulous fisherman, Chelsea Queen. Her brother KJ is on my team now too as well. I recruited Chelsea right out of high school, and she is. I'm sad that she's moving away, but we are always looking for young ladies who are great anglers. We've got the cream of the crop throughout high school bass fishing going to Bethel, and it's hard to get on our team. I don't mind telling you, you're going to have to be pretty good if you're going to stand a chance on getting on our team.
Well, congratulations to Bethel for thinking about this. Where is Bethel, by the way?
It's in McKenzie, Tennessee, about 30 miles here from Parishland State Park. This is what we consider our home lake, this and the Carroll County 1,000-acre recreational lake in Carroll County.
Yeah. Those great places to practice.
Great places to practice. And, of course, we also sneak off down to Gibson County Lake every once in a while, too. So, but we've got some wonderful waters to fish in.
All right, Gary, we got a couple minutes left. One more time on Legends. Let's tell them where they can find more information, and also Bethel. Where can they find more information on Bethel and just bass fishing in general? These
They can go to www.bethel.com, betheluniversity.com.
Okay.
Or just punch in Bethel University and
come up, right?
It'll come up. There is a couple of Bethel Universities, so you got to pick the one from McKenzie, Tennessee.
Okay.
Small Cumberland Presbyterian School of about 1,500 on campus. Pretty quiet.
And a national champion.
That's
just awesome.
That's right.
Awesome, yeah.
But and then if they want to go to the Legends of the Outdoors, www.legendsoftheoutdoors.com, or just punch my name in, and the site will come up. If they want to see anything about Northwest Tennessee tourism, just punch in Kentucky or Reelfoot Lake, and it'll bring up our tourism site.
All right. And Gary, questions going back to fishing before we run out of here. It's been a while since I've been out with you. Biggest fish. What's your biggest bass out of this lake right here?
I've never caught one over 8 pounds. Now, both of my boys have caught them over 10 pounds out of this lake, but my 2 prize fish are not largemouth. My 2 prize fish are 2 shell crackers that I caught, one year and one the other year, out of the same spot, and had the same man that I was guiding both times. One of them weighed 21 ounces and 12 inches long. One of them weighed 24 ounces and 21 inches long.
Wow. That's a big fish. That's a tarp fish for sure.
12 and a half inches long.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. And bluegill? Did you ever catch one over a pound in this lake?
No, but I filled up 48 quart cooler.
Pretty good catfish lake too, isn't it?
It's a great catfish lake.
And smallmouth, a lot of folks may not know it. The east side of this lake got a lot of smallmouth.
Billy Westmoreland said this was one of the best smallmouth lakes that he'd ever fished on.
All right. Billy Westmoreland in the hall yet?
Yes, he went in the first year.
He went in the first year, man. Yeah. You got all kinds of. How many folks you got now? 2002 to now is.
2002 to now is going to be 109 members.
Wow!
Counting
all right.
one posthumous.
That's awesome.
All right, Gary. Thank you for your time, and I do want to go fishing.
Absolutely. Hope you guys both get to come and take it.
We're going to do a little filming with you, okay?
We'll take advantage of that for sure.
Gary Mason, everybody. Jason, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Doug.
Thanks for setting all this up.
Yeah, it's great. Our office is outside. This is the best place to shoot one of these, I think.
It sure is. We're going to do more of it anyway. We got to go, everyone. Our show will be out there all the time. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, TNWildlife.org.